Well, folks, when you're on a cross-Canada tour, it's only right to visit a monument to the greatest cross-Canada tour of all time. We're here in Thunder Bay. Just before we leave town, we wanted to come and the Terry Fox Monument in Thunder Bay. Well, guys, we're here at the Terry Fox Monument in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I figured what a better place to actually, as we've gone across, we haven't actually talked much about Shinerama and actually what it is as a present, so I figured now's as good a time as any at this particular monument to, on our cross-Canada tour, to tell you a little bit about the campaign and actually what it is that we're doing. It started in 1961, actually, as an idea, and that's what I love so much about the campaign, is it's just an idea that keeps growing and keeps getting new ideas added to it, and as it does so, it just becomes more and more complex, but at the same time more and more effective. So in 1961, students at Waterloo Lutheran University, which later became Wilfrid Laurier, decided they wanted to add something to Orientation Week. They wanted to keep the same concept of orientation, so a chance to welcome people, a chance for people to get to know upper year students, get to know other first year students, and to have a good time, but at the same time to add something, to give something back to their community. So they came up with this idea, well, why don't we send all of our frosh class out into the community and they'll offer to shine shoes in return for donations to the Canadian, or actually at the time it wasn't to the Canadian Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. And that first year they made a few $100s, I think for a local school, I'm not exactly sure what it was. But they kept doing it, the reviews were great, and about 3 years later, the people from the Waterloo chapter of the Canadian Cystic Fibrosis Foundation caught wind of this, and they contacted the students and say, you've got a great idea here. Can we share it? Would you be willing to share it with other people? Would you be willing to share it to help us? Now, at the time, and still today, cystic fibrosis was the number1 inherited killer of young people in Canada. People with cystic fibrosis at that time were lucky to live to see kindergarten. CF, just so you know, is still the #1 inherited killer of young people in the country. It's a disease that attacks the lungs and digestive system. Basically, your body creates mucus, and in our healthy bodies, we are able to move it out. But in people with cystic fibrosis, unfortunately, it stays and coats the lungs, which makes it extremely difficult to breathe. It's also a breeding ground for bacteria. In terms of the digestive system, when the mucus coats the digestive system, the enzymes that healthy people use to break down their food and absorb nutrients, they can't do it anymore. The enzymes aren't secreted, and you can't actually absorb any of the nutrients, so you can eat as much as you want, and you can still be starving to death. At this point, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in 1964 went to the students of Waterloo Lutheran and said, can we share your idea? And they said, sure. And 9 different universities that first year went out and raised $9,000 to support cystic fibrosis research. And we just finished the 42nd campaign. And now over 60 colleges and universities and over 35,000 volunteers are taking that first idea, and they're still running with it, and they're still growing with it. But as times changed, so too did the campaign. I mean, when people stopped wearing shoes that you could shine, students said, okay, well, let's go wash cars, and let's take our guitars out onto the street, and let's go and wash windows of businesses in return for donation. And then as time went on again, and as students started to become better and better at doing just that on Shine Day, they said, well, let's not just do it on one day during Frosh Week. Let's expand it. Let's start throwing concerts. Let's start trying to break world records. Let's start trying to do any number of things. Anything that people will do that could be fun, that students would do anyway, you could add a fundraising component to. And that's what Shinerama has become. It's become literally hundreds of different fundraising initiatives under one banner. But really, it all started with one idea. And the really amazing thing about young people and good ideas is that when you take a good idea and you take youth and you take energy and you take friendship, it's almost impossible to cap it. And what we've seen is over the 42 years of the campaign, we've continued to see new ideas and new energy and new people infuse brand new innovative things into the campaign. And now, this particular year, we're very close to raising more money than we've ever raised before for the 2006 campaign, over $950,000. And as we move across the country with the Shinerama Love Tour, we're becoming closer and closer to that $1 million goal. So I want to thank, as we're here in Thunder Bay, we're just about to head on the western swing, we want to take a moment to say this is what the campaign is. This is what cystic fibrosis is, and this is what we've decided to do. The Love Tour is our way, Mike and my way, of trying to create another unifying thread between the people who do this remarkable campaign. Every year we get 100 young people in London, Ontario on the May long weekend, and almost all of them under the age of 25, and almost none of them have any fundraising experience. And in the 100 and some days between the first day of that conference and the end of September, they raised close to $1 million. And that, to me, is extraordinary. So the term Shinerama Love kind of came about from a delegate 4 or 5 years ago when he said, the second day of the conference, he said, I just feel the Shinerama Love. He goes, it's the most extraordinary thing, and it's been taken up by the leadership of the campaign, and all the people who've come since as sort of a symbol of that bond that forms between young people when they're working towards something as good as this. And so what we've decided to do is let's take something and allow the Shiner in Vancouver and the Shiner in New Brunswick and the Shiner in Halifax and Ontario, Alberta, Saskatchewan, all across the country to see just how big this is, and that their little bit that they did, wherever it was, whether it was Saskatoon or Victoria or Thunder Bay or wherever, that their little bit is combined with the efforts of all of these other extraordinary people and show them how big this campaign is and give them the opportunity to feel good about what it is that we're all doing together. So that's what Shinerama Love is. That's why we're doing this. And I wanted to stop and just take a moment here where pretty much one of the greatest fundraising Canadians ever, though for a different cause, the concept is the same. Young people coming together to do things that matter. And it's so cool that Terry Fox had an idea back in the 80s. We had an idea in the 60s. And people are still running with it, and people are still doing great things for it. So it's been an amazing tour so far. We can't wait to get onto the Western Swing. But thanks for coming with us so far, and we're going to keep rolling as we go.